Okay. Hi, Kathleen.
Oh,
My name is Ebony Edwards, as you can see. We can go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so the name of the session is It's Lit, Incorporating Multicultural Literature in the Classroom. All right, so I'll just give a brief background of myself. Uh, I'm an owner. I own my own business. I'm an author. I'm also a teacher. So my business is called Edwards Inc. Um, I'll go into detail about that in a second. Uh, I'm a published author. I've published my first book in 2019. It's called Fine, You Tell Me Who I Am. It's a poetry book. It's about different experiences that Black and Brown people may go through over the course of their lives. Um, so it's a really cool book. And then my next book that's coming out next Saturday is called The Adventures of Zion Fuzz. It's a book about a little boy. It's based off of a true kid. He's my sister's godson who has autism. And he goes throughout the day just going on adventures. He's making up like, he's using his imagination to go through do different things throughout the day. And it's also a very cool book. I'm also a teacher. This is my sixth year teaching. I've taught for about half a year while I was in Dallas, Texas, and I've been teaching in Washington, D.C. ever since. And I teach first grade. All right, so Edwards Inc. is my business. We are a products and services company that provides relatable resources to the urban community. Those resources include books, of course, and then I also try to push some other businesses that my colleagues have as well. And then I also sell apparel that's motivational and that also appeal to the urban community. Our mission is to educate, empower, and entertain those in the urban community. Our goal is to help youth become positive members of society through writing in various forms, including poetry, music, and the arts. Edwards Inc. helps urban kids express themselves in positive ways while giving them a safe place to do so. So obviously you were on time. Okay, these are just some of the norms. Just be mindful of like muting and unmuting. I know we all like trip up on that sometimes, including myself. Uh, have an open mind. I think that's one of the biggest things, especially when talking about like multiculturalism and like diversity and stuff like that. And then also just be present, just be here, be engaged as well. Some objectives that I have for us today are to determine why using multicultural literature is important, understand how to incorporate diverse text into the classroom, and then also identify some multicultural literature to use in the classroom. So here's our agenda. We're going to have a very quick icebreaker. We're going to discuss important terms and beliefs involved with having a culturally responsive classroom, discuss why and how to incorporate multicultural literature into the classroom. We're going to identify diverse children's books, authors, and illustrators, and a few other resources as well. And then we're just going to have a wrap up discussion. Okay, so we can start. I mean, you're welcome to type it in the chat. You can just unmute if you want, since it's just us. But what's your favorite childhood book?
um, I don't have one. I am and was a voracious reader, and so I read all different types of genres. I was the kid that your mother would say, "Turn off the light and go to bed," and I'd still read underneath the covers. So I don't really have a favorite childhood book. Sorry.
Not no favorite. Well, okay, okay. I know when I was younger, I loved reading Harry Potter. I read all of them, and I was obsessed with Harry Potter for a little while. I also loved There's a Monster at the End of This Book. I don't know that book. I was obsessed with that as well.
With Grover. With
Yeah,
Grover. Yes, yes.
yes. I actually bought it like recently. I was like, oh, I need that book. So, yep. Okay, okay. Um, all right. So I was anticipating a few more people to join us. And we were gonna like go on to do like a word cloud activity. I guess you could still try it just so you can just see what it looks like. Just have you ever used a word cloud before? Okay, all right, so you already know what it is. So when you think about a good or a great classroom library, what word or words come to mind?
Oh, diverse. So it's not just in genre, it's also in characters. So it's and it's not, I teach in all boys high school.
Oh,
So,
wow.
but it's not just all, it's not characters that are just boys. It's characters that are, strong female leads. It's um it's a it's a it's a it's diverse. You want everything. I want everything that I can have. I'm very big into books. So and literature. So yes, that's one of the things that a great classroom library would have something for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. I know that like my school provides us with like books, but then I find myself also having to like bring books in to add to it because it's just not diverse enough, like you said. So I definitely agree with you there. Um, so here are just some important terms that I wanted to go over before we get started. So the first one is multicultural, and then diverse. We've already mentioned that word. Literature, and then multicultural literature. So since you can't make groups, it's just us. It's all good. Um, but we have someone that's joining us. I guess we can try it here. Welcome, Albert. Nice of you to join us. Or maybe we can try it out with us. So I do have a document where we can record definitions that we come up with for these terms. So I'll stop sharing for a sec. And I will share the document. So I'll put the link in the chat. So there's the link for the document. If that's just, if you want to record, I can record down the answers, or do you want to type? Either one of you want to type? It doesn't make a difference to me. Anyone want to be the note taker? I'll share it as well on my screen. Okay. All right. So, I can type. That's fine. What comes to mind when you think about the word multicultural? What do you think a good definition for that word is?
Adrian, you want to go? Okay. Um, in my opinion, multicultural is an all-encompassing. I can't think of the word I'm looking for. All-encompassing of different cultures, ethnicities, um, sexual orientation, acceptance.
Did you say acceptance? Just add that there. Okay. All right, great. Okay. I know we talked a little bit about diversity. What do you guys think about diverse? What's a good definition for diverse?
I'd say a combination of different parts of someone, people.
Okay.
That don't look alike.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Cool. What about literature? What is literature?
I think poems, songs, books. Nonfiction, fiction.
Okay. Yeah. All right, good. All right, and then multicultural literature. What is that?
I'd say diverse voices.
Okay.
Different perspectives.
And then in like some type of text, right?
Right.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you guys for sharing out. So here are just some definitions from the web. You guys were spot on with your definitions. I'm just going to leave them here for a second. I'm not going to go through and read through them since you guys did a pretty good job of giving your own definitions. Give you a second to take a look at it. We're good. Good to move on. All right, cool. All right, let's play a game. Okay. Have you guys played true or false before? Okay, great. All right, so actually for true or false, we're gonna hop on to Nearpod. Have you guys used Nearpod before? No? Okay, great. Maybe it's something that you can use in your classroom. All right, so I'm going to get the link for Nearpod. I'm gonna put it in the chat. Okay, so there's the link. And I'll put the code if you need the code as well. Okay, there's the code. Okay. Yep, AJ, I see you're in.
So just to be clear, I'm not really a teacher. I'm working for the Institute. So I'm just jumping in and facilitating or making sure everything's running smoothly.
Gotcha. Okay.
If it was a teacher, this would be really helpful.
Yeah, it's okay. All right. Well, yeah, you don't have to take the poll then. It's all good.
I don't want to spill the statistics or the data being collected.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for being here and still participating in ways that you can anyway. Kathleen, thank you for your vote. Okay. All right. So, well, obviously it says the majority of students that I teach look like me. Okay, and then you picked false. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's good to know. Good information to know. I was just wondering. And then the next one, when I teach, I must only use text for my curriculum. That's false. Okay, so cool. You can use other resources. So all right, great, awesome. Okay. All right, so that's it for Nearpod for now. Hopefully you take a look into Nearpod though. There's like many different things that you can do on Nearpod, and the students, it helps them become more engaged. All right, so for the next part, we were going into, if there were more people, we were going to go and split into breakout rooms, but it's okay. So here we can I'll just show the statement on the screen, and then just hear some thoughts, true or false, true or false. So if my students are all white, I do not need to teach about diversity, true or false? False. Yeah. Okay, so yes, you got it right. False. So in places that are not as visibly diverse, students need explicit teaching about diversity because they may not have experiences in which they encounter people different from them. It is important to uncover any misconceptions they may have about diversity and plan valuable lessons that confront those misconceptions. So, great. The next one. I should include learning experiences pertaining to different cultures all throughout the year, not just during Black History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, etc. What do we think? True or false?
True.
True, yay. Okay, all right. Thank you. Thanks, AJ. See ya. All right, so absolutely this is true. While selected months and days used to celebrate certain cultures are a great start in teaching about diverse groups of people, it is simply not enough. By incorporating lessons centered around people of various backgrounds regularly, students will understand and appreciate the diversity all around us. And then last one, if I am afraid to make a mistake or offend someone, it is better to not teach about diversity at all.
False.
Yeah, of course. Yes. So it is very understandable to be nervous because you do not want to offend anyone, but you are also providing your scholars a disservice by avoiding a topic that is prevalent in the world that we live in. Research, learn from the scholars and their families, etc. Until our curriculum becomes substantially more inclusive of a variety of cultures, teachers must bridge the gap. I know teachers already do a lot. We just got to do a little bit more because I know personally the curriculum that I was using before just did not include a lot of diverse text. So I had to bring in supplemental text, things like that. Thankfully, the school where I am now, we do have a little bit more diverse text in the curriculum, but I still found myself having to bring in outside resources as well. All right, one big thing to remember is that our classroom should be a safe space. So whenever having conversations or reading text about that are multicultural, may have touchy topics, just help students and help them feel comfortable sharing and having these discussions, and that'll help them like open up more and participate more and learn more as well. Okay, so I'm gonna read this quote here on the left. If you want to make a human being a monster, deny them at the cultural level any reflection of themselves. What do you think about that quote? What do you think that means?
Well, there's no representation. So without representation, they grow up questioning themselves and the world around them.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to show this short clip. that I found that was very interesting and cool. So,
We all need to see ourselves in books. Because if we don't see ourselves in books, we may not feel as connected to the human experience, the story of all of us. At the same time, books are more than mirrors. They're also windows. I've always believed that reading is the ultimate form of empathy. Yes, we'd love to find ourselves in books and read about ourselves and our own experiences. But it's also important to read about people who aren't like us. It's only then that we'll have a full understanding of the world around us.
Hi, my name is John Green, and we need diverse books. I think we need diverse books because we need to reflect the reality of our communities, and that reality is a very diverse one. One of the magical things about reading to me is that it helps me to imagine the life outside of myself.
These books give all readers a glimpse into a culture that they might not be familiar with.
I was a huge reader when I was a kid, but I didn't see a lot of myself in the books that I was reading.
I remember in my later teens running across a book called Blood Brothers by Stephen Barnes. That was pretty much the time when I saw something that really made me feel like I was seeing a piece of myself in the work. Trying to think of when I was a kid what the most sort of diverse book was that I read, and I'm having a hard time thinking of it, which is, I think, in a way what underscores the entire campaign.
I didn't know black women could write books, and I didn't know why I didn't know this. I don't want my children to grow up like me, not having read anybody that, looks like
When
them.
you read, you're reading to discover the essential truths in life.
Everybody should be able to go into a bookstore or a library and look at the shelves and be able to see themselves looking back.
So now you know why our Diverse Books campaign is so important. If we can reach our campaign goal, this will just be the beginning of us putting diverse books into the hands of young readers. Giving children diverse books and getting them into reading in general will open up so many doors for them. And I know, because that's what diverse books did for me. Join us, donate, and share this message so that
yeah, stop sharing it there.
we all need to.
So I think you touched on this a little bit earlier, Kathleen, when you talked about having that diverse library, and just have like representation for all kinds of people. And I think that that's very, very important for our scholars. All right, so why have multicultural literature in the classroom? So it really fosters positive self-esteem. When kids can see books, see and read and listen to books that include people that look like them, they're going to be more, well, especially if they're like if they can see like themselves as like different people from like different careers, different walks of life. It helps them feel good and know that people like them, whether it's they're black, they're young, they're a young lady, whatever it is, if they can see themselves or other people doing positive things, then they'll be more likely to feel good about themselves, and they're like, oh yeah, like that's something that I can do too. And they'll feel good about just being who they are. It definitely, we talked about before a little bit how it promotes empathy and unity. So when you learn about people different from yourself, and you learn things that you may not have known before, you can have more of a better understanding about those cultures or whatever it may be, and more likely to, even like make friends with people that are different from you. So I think that's very important. It also helps students look critically at the world. So if they're learning about diverse people and things that are going on for those groups of people in the world, they start to question things that are happening in the world. They start to make a difference in any ways that they can, if they're just learning about what's going on outside of their little bubble. And then it also encourages identity formation. I think that's a big thing, especially for like young kids. They're really trying to figure out who they are. And I think that reading different kinds of books about different kinds of people helps them gain that sense of understanding. All right, so here are a few quotes that I found, and I thought they were like, they really just stood out to me. So the first one is, when children cannot find themselves reflected in the books they read, they learn a powerful lesson about how they are devalued in the society of which they are a part. What are your thoughts about that?
I agree with that. They, again, it goes back to the representation. And that if they don't see themselves in a book and who they are, whether it is in regards to being black and brown, or you know, a student with a learning disability, or something, or somebody of an Asian descent, um, they start to question themselves and to ask themselves, you know, why, you know, why am I not good enough? Because the only thing that I'm reading is about white women or white men or white boys or white girls. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. Okay. That's for sure. The next one, exposure to a variety of multicultural literature can assist in breaking down cultural barriers. What do you think about that one?
Yes, I believe that by using multicultural literature, even if you're not living it, you can teach it. And it goes along with our Catholic teaching, about learning about different people and different ways of life, and even and celebrating that, you know, that there's not one right way. But yes, and we need to expose our students, to multicultural literature, because if they might not get it at home, and we have a responsibility, to educate our students, and that includes opening up, other aspects of the world that they might not already get.
I definitely agree with you there. Our kids are with us for like the majority of the day, so it's our job to expose them to as many things as we can. And I definitely think that through multicultural literature, they can definitely learn a lot about the people around them and also people from all over the world. So for the third one, diverse literature is equally valuable in more homogeneous schools where certain demographic groups dominate. Books may be one of the few places where children who are socially isolated and insulated from the larger world may meet people unlike themselves. So I think we already discussed that. So, all right, so how can we incorporate multicultural literature inside the classroom? So just one way that we do it at my school is during our social emotional learning block. We've kind of incorporated that during our morning meeting time. So we'll read like books, we'll even play like videos that really push kids to think about different things that are happening, especially in America right now. And we have like discussions during that time surrounding like the videos or the books or whatever it is. And it's a really cool time block to really hear them share out, because they really enjoy sharing out, because they're, even though I teach first grade, they know what's going on. So they really like participating and talking about what's happening. So that's one way. Another way is through supplementary text. We've already discussed that, just bringing in other books outside of the books that are in the curricula. And they can have like similar themes, but, or opposing themes, but just bringing them in and then just using them, because they can still meet standards and all of that. So why not incorporate it? We've already discussed adding these multicultural literature inside the classroom library. I know that during our like guided reading block, kids have a time to like go to the library section. They have to read like 2 on level books, and then they get like choice books. And I found that kids a lot of the time choose the books that I bring in. because it's different from the regular books that are provided by the school, and they're interesting. They're books that they can relate to. So they want to read. Like it definitely builds a joy for reading. And then in small groups, I know that we have a time period where we pull small groups for like they're differentiated groups based on their level. And I think that during that time would be a very good time to incorporate some multicultural texts because it's not a set time where we're teaching the curriculum. So we're welcome to pull in outside resources. And then also just do read alouds. Everybody loves a good read aloud. I think that's one of my favorite things about teaching is doing read alouds. And I think that, yeah, it's cool whether you do it at the beginning of the day, middle of the day, end of the day. It's cool to just incorporate them and bring in some multicultural literature. Yeah. So we don't have to, so this is on Nearpod. Actually, just because you haven't used it, I'll just show you what it looks like on there. So this is a collaborate board. Okay, so on here, I'll show what it looks like here on my screen. So what are you already doing to include multicultural literature in your classroom? I was just gonna have everybody share out and type in, but since it's just us, you're welcome to just say it out loud.
So I teach a developmental reading and writing group to struggling readers, below grade level readers, freshman. And one of the things that I do is in the beginning of the year, I do a read aloud, and it's one of my favorite books to teach. It's We Beat the Street: How a Pact of 3 inner city teenagers all became doctors. And so they have to respond to that, and we read about it. We read a chapter a day. The chapters are short, usually about 5 or 7 pages. And our school is not as diverse as I would like it to be. However, we're an all boys school, 9 through 12. We are, I think, probably 40% non-white. Most 30% would be African American, Black or brown. With the other 10% being of different cultures and ethnicities. And we take from 37 different towns. Some of them are inner city, some of them are not. So I like this book because it actually helps the boys that come from the inner city can definitely relate to it. There's, the 3 doctors, or the 3 men that become doctors, they weren't angels. They grew up in Newark, New Jersey, and it's a really frank book, but it normalizes what happens when you grow up in an inner city. And it also, for those that are not in the city, that are more of a country person or a suburb, it also gives them a good experience that it's not like what they've been taught, or maybe not even taught, but something that they have caught, with those implicit biases. So I really like that book. We do my second marking period. I do a social justice project where we talk about the Japanese internment camps. We talk about basically the Chinese Exclusion Acts, the Civil Rights Acts. We talk about we do those 3, and then we go from whatever they want to talk about. So it was really interesting this year because we were able to bring in the Black Lives Matter, the shootings. There were it was a really good discussion based class at that point. But then they have to tie it into the social justice teachings of the Catholic school, and
Mhm.
how do we go from here, and how do we make it better, and what are their how do they do that? So that's what I do.
Oh, I love that. That sounds awesome. I like how you're incorporating those texts and then also making it like relevant. And I think relevancy is like super important because it makes it feel like it matters because it does. So they're more invested in it.
Right. It keeps, especially for ninth grade teenage boys,
Mhm.
it keeps them interested, it keeps them motivated, and engaged. And that's while also continuing to learn about, not just about the world in general, but what they can do. It's that character building is what they can do, and how they can become more involved, and be a difference, make a difference. But I'm always looking for ways to improve that,
Yeah,
and improve my improve my teaching. So,
gotcha. Okay. All right. So I was gonna have like a little break here, like a 5 minute break. Do you need a break?
good.
No? All right, so we
Unless
can
you
just,
want one.
no, I'm good too. All right, we can keep rocking and rolling. All right, so one of the things that I love to do is write poetry. So like I said before, my first book that I wrote is a poetry book. And it is about different experiences that Black and Brown people may go through. So I like to use poetry as a way to incorporate those things that are happening in real life, and then also incorporate the elements of poetry. So it's I feel like it's a good thing to use in the classroom. I think like a lot of curriculum, for what I've seen, doesn't explicitly like include poetry like a lot. So it's nice to just bring it in. Um, so through poetry, children can strengthen their reading skills and build fluency. Students also work on reading comprehension. Poetry builds language and vocabulary, and it also promotes writing. So that's the great thing about it. And I have used my book um, as a way to do all of those things. So at my school, wasn't last year, so the year before, well, yeah, it was, yeah, right before COVID. So my school had ended up purchasing my book for all of our eighth graders. And I had also written a teacher's guide to go along with it that includes like different lessons and activities that can be used with the book. And like right before, like they had just bought the books, they read a few poems. I think I was able to sit in and have like a really, really cool discussion with them about it. But then COVID hit, and then everything was just crazy. And I never really got a chance to see how, like, what they really could do using those texts. So Find You, Tell Me Who I Am is the title of the book. And it has been, like I said, it's been used in our middle school. And then also one of our elementary classrooms was able to pull out some of the poems because several of them are like really touchy for like older kids. But the teacher, I think she was in a third or fourth grade classroom. She was able to pull out some of the poems and work on some skills. And it was really cool. It was really, really cool. And my sister actually used a few of the poems this week with her third graders, and they really enjoyed them. So here in the teacher's guide, there are some lessons in there and they align with eighth grade Common Core standards. So I know like schools are really big on like, meeting the standards and stuff like that. So they align, and I feel like it's a great resource to use. And then I've also created a student journal as well, which includes like journaling pages. There's drawing pages. It's I feel like it's a good way for students to express themselves and their thinking. So, all right, so we were gonna have a silent discussion, but have you ever done a silent discussion before?
No.
Okay, so I'll
so my question would be, how would that work in a virtual environment? I have some that are in a hybrid environment. I have some that are I'll use Padlet. and, or, we also use Flipgrid, but this would be, how would that work in a hybrid?
Yeah, so that's one thing. I had incorporated Padlet like inside the teacher's guide as one of the like resources you could use for technology. I had also played around with it a little bit on like a shared Word document. So having like placing the text on the page, and then like students can still like add their comments about it on there. So yeah, I think that's one way. And then today I was going to post it on the collaborate board on Nearpod. And then everybody, like as they type their answers, they'll pop up on there and everyone can see what everyone wrote and they can read each other's responses.
I have done something like this, but we don't call it silent discussion. I think like we call it gallery walk.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. Yep. All right. Same type of thing.
Yep.
So, yep. So here's just a couple of examples from like in person. So this poem on the left is called Natural. Probably hard to read right now, but it's basically about like Black women in their hair and it being natural. So here were like some of the responses that some kids gave after reading that poem. See here, they were able to respond to each other a little bit here as well. This was another poem. It was called The Creamy Crack. So it's like when women use relaxers in their hair. And here are just some responses to that. It's really cool to see what comes to mind to their minds and just see their responses, see them responding to each other. I really like it. I like the silent discussion. All right, so we were gonna do a little silent discussion on this poem. I mean, I'll read it. You can just share out any thoughts or anything that comes to your mind. So this one is called Presently Present. Are you presently present? Because your presence presents an opportunity for unity, for you and me. Are you presently present? Or are you purposefully practicing passivity, allowing horrors of the past to pass presently? Are you presently present? Promote justness. We need justice. We cannot continue to accept how it just is. Are you presently present? Or are you just here? Please peacefully present your presence in some way, in some shape, in some form. Be presently present. So, thoughts?
I like that.
Thank you.
I really like the promote justice. We need justice. We cannot continue to accept how it is. That really like jumped out at me. And also, are you presently present or are you just here? I think that's a really good starting point for a class, especially when you're beginning the school year or you're beginning a new semester. Tell me, for unity, for you and me, for a class, to class community. It's a really good way to start to build that community that we need.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get to see my kids every day. We have a rotating, a 7-drop-2 rotating block schedule. So, so I don't get to see them every day, and I don't see them at the same time every day. So it has its strengths and it has its drawbacks. But I like this as a way to think, okay, we try to build that community, and we are a safe space. And this also speaks to me in that, in helping me to tell them, you can't just accept how it is. You have to be the change. You have to make the change. Pretty powerful poem.
Thank you. I think earlier you mentioned about how you have your students figure out like what they can do. Like you said, how they can make a difference and make change. In my teacher's guide, that's actually like, because this is the last poem in the book. So after it, they have to do an activity where they have to think of a problem in their community and figure out a way to solve or attack that problem. Yeah, so I'm really glad that you mentioned that you're already doing that. So that's really, really huge. All right, so another activity that I mentioned before was journaling. A lot of the time kids, they don't want to say things out loud, but they'll write it down. They'll draw pictures. They'll do some type of scribing to get their thoughts out. And I think that journaling is an excellent tool to use in the classroom. So here's another poem. I'm gonna read it, and then yeah, I really like, it's one of my other favorites in it, so I'll read it. It's called Eyes on Me. Eyes on me as I look around. I just stepped on a train, homebound. She clenched her purse a little tighter. She pulled her kid in close. I'm a young Black male. That's what they fear the most. But I'm minding my own, not worrying about them, but they keep their eyes on me. It's after 8 p.m. Eyes on me, they're like spies on me. I've done nothing to them, but they'll put lies on me. Maybe if I put my hood up, I won't feel their eyes burning through. But if I put my hood up, no telling what they'll do. So that's another one. I think it would get like a good response.
Oh, it would get a really good response. Yes. Yeah. One of the other things that I do is we start from the beginning of the year is we have letters to each other. So when we're all in class, and this past year it's been more like on a Google Doc, we've done this, but every week, every 2 weeks. So every week I will write a letter. I'll write a letter to them. They have to then respond back to my letter, and they will, and then we go from there all through the year. And as we get to probably November, December, they tend to open up a little bit more about things. And you're right, they will, not that they hold back a lot in class, but they will tend to put more of their fears in the letters and response in the letter than they will if I just ask a question. And again, this is another pretty powerful a powerful poem, and especially with a lot of my boys, it would resonate with them. Not so much the train, it would be the bus. We don't have a really good train system, but we do have a bus system that our city bus system that our boys use. So yeah, it would be, we've talked about this before, and we've talked, being a white woman, it's really, I have to build community. When I build community, that's when then afterwards, as we go through and we can talk about and I use the the pact book as a jumping off part, but yeah, we do have to have that difficult conversation of of driving while Black, because especially as the kids get older, and they get their licenses, and so I have to have that trust, and I have to build that community first if they're going to listen to what I have to say. I have to have that credibility, and it also is a very sobering message for my white boys, and also, again, I also work with students with identified needs, and so my older students who have autism, and what they have to do and how they have to approach it, and my boys of color that have autism, really, really difficult to teach. And that's a really powerful poem as well. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, no problem at all. No problem. Here, so in the book, there are other, they're not all, some are playful, some are about other, it's a bunch of different topics. So this one here is called Gospel Choir. So one activity that I think would be great is like comparing text to like media, like other forms of media. And I think that really keeps kids engaged because they're not just reading all the time. It's like, okay, let's bring in something else, to liven you guys up a little bit. So this one is called Gospel Choir. I'll just read this one as well. She sings with all her heart. The sounds come from within her soul. The songs pronounce her love. Her Savior makes her whole. The choir is the background. The organ's melody flows along. The drums maintain the rhythm. The hymn book shows the song. It all is so in tune. The soloist continues to amaze. Everyone feels the spirit as they sing and praise. So that's that one. And then I would play, I don't know if you've seen Sister Act by any chance. Yay, okay. I'm gonna play the video. I love this song.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that movie. I might need to go watch it. So yeah, I think like incorporating like videos or clips from like movies or shows that they may have seen, and then comparing it with these multicultural texts will really make it enjoyable for the students, as you still can teach different skills necessary that you need to do for your class.
Wonderful.
All right, so here are some, I know I've been talking about my book, a little bit, but here are some other notable Black and Brown authors, illustrators, and books.
We had Kwame Alexander come and do a Zoom. This year. It was wonderful. It was wonderful.
Wow. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
and we had so many people actually, so many of our students, out of 500, I think we ended up with 252 or something like that actually come for his talk. He was amazing. He was really good.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was good.
That's awesome. Wow, that's
We
really...
we have an authors event where every year we try to get an author to come, and usually it's in person, and it's an after school event. Obviously last year we didn't have it because we were in lockdown. This year we were able to get Kwame Alexander. He had some time in the schedule because of all the of COVID. So he was able to come, and we did a Zoom virtual event, and it was wonderful.
I'm sure it was. That's really, really cool. Wow, that's big.
It was huge, especially for us being such a small school. It was huge.
Wow. Okay, so there's one good thing about COVID. Look, gave him some time to come to your
That's
school.
right. That's right.
Okay, awesome. And then you love literature, so I'm sure you know a lot of different texts that you could use. And then here I just listed different authors and illustrators. Then some of them cross, have books for elementary and middle or high school. But here's just a list. I'm sure you know a lot of different authors, but I did want to mention them. And then, so I've talked a little bit about my business. So we sell multicultural books and apparel. I have some education related apparel as well. So my plan last year was to have a poetry club, which I was locked in with 2 schools in DC, but then COVID happened and here we are. But once things get a little bit more back to normal, I do plan to have the club. I also host like events in the community to just bring the community together, bring in different vendors and support those in my community, help everybody make a little bit of money, help everybody get some great resources. So it's always a good time. And then there's also, so one of my coworkers, she has a business is called Reflective Pages. They provide multicultural books for free. And then they also offer curricula. And then they also do like professional development and instructional coaching, like for teachers to help them just, figure out, make a plan for using multicultural text in the classroom.
In the English classroom?
Yes. Yes. All right, so I mean, that's pretty much it that I have for you. Is there anything that you're gonna take away from this session?
Yeah, I mean, the why, why do we teach multicultural education? How to incorporate the multicultural education. It's a little bit more difficult in a high school setting than it is in an elementary setting. But the poetry, incorporate the poetry, more poetry. It was a good session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. No problem at all. Thank you for attending. I did want to share, or did you have any questions? Sorry, any questions or anything? Okay. we don't, I mean, I was going to do a shameless plug, but it's,
It's
I
okay.
mean,
You can do it. Do the plug. I want to see it.
all right, cool. So like I said, mentioned before, I do have a book called The Adventures of Zai and Fuzz coming out next Saturday. So here's like I made a book trailer for it. So here it is. So yeah, that's my little buddy. He, like I said before, he does have autism, and the book is based off of him. So check it out. You know, if you get a chance.
Thank
And then here is my contact information. If you want to take it down, screenshot it, anything. Yeah. Then I really want to
you very much.
Thank you for attending my session. It was very nice to hear about what you already do in your classroom. It sounds like you're already doing some really great things, and I just want to urge you to continue to use multicultural literature in your classroom. Keep doing great things as you already are. That's it.
Thank you. And thank you for still, I know having one person show up isn't exactly what you wanted, but I do appreciate that you continue to show me everything that you had and do your presentation. I appreciate that.
Oh, no problem at all.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
Good luck. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Ebony.
No problem. Thank you.